5-hour energy, the perfectly sweet and possibly nostalgic treat you're craving. It's all flavor, no fluff. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Kind of Funny Gamescast for Thursday, March 19th, 2026. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the big man from VGC.News. It's Jordan Midler.
Hello, Pocopia Review Part 2. So now that you've completed the game...
The internet has moved on. We've moved on from... how many hours into Pocopia are you right now, Jordan?
So we've now paused. We're on XD Gale of Darkness and a Nintendo GameCube Classic, but I think the last time I checked, it was 210. So
210 on Pocopia. Good. God dang.
Yeah.
Now, how are you?
I've got a ways to go before I get to my Legends ZA, which was 415 at last check.
Jesus
but,
Christ,
we'll
dude.
get there. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. How's Gale of Darkness going? I saw you, of course, over on BS. That's Blue Sky, Tim. Talking about this is the whole reason you bought the goddamn GameCube controller for the Switch, too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the GameCube Pokemon games are super weird. For a long time, the Pokemon company didn't really acknowledge them because they didn't make them. It was a company called Genius Sonority. But they're great fun. They have aged interestingly, but if you have the absolute rip-off expansion pack and you want those GameCube games, go ahead and get it right now.
I do have it. I haven't had the time to start. Obviously, there's been a million things going on, so I'm excited to dive in eventually. Because yes, I have a GameCube controller as well that I don't use for anything. So the idea of jumping in here and trying this out sounds pretty exciting to me. But Jordan, I only have you for 30 minutes before you have to run. You, of course, were nice enough to jump on this with me. Don't worry, I won't end the Gamescast in 30 minutes, everybody. I will hang out because we're going to be talking about the most divisive video game reviews of all time, because this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every weekday, we run you through the biggest topics in video games, whether they be reviews, previews, or just things we need to talk about. If you want to talk to me and Jordan about maybe, hey, what do you think the most divisive video game reviews of all time are, go to youtube.com/kindoffunnygames where you can super chat to be part of the show. Of course, thank you to our Patreon producers, Carl Jacobs, Omega Buster, Delaney the Psalm, Twining. They'll be getting the show ad-free, get their daily dose of me, Greg Miller, and support an 11-person small business. And hey, I got a phone number on my screen. If you aren't looking at it, it's 415-343-5034. Tomorrow, we're doing a voicemail episode of the Kind of Funny Gamescast because it's now life after Crimson Desert. Go to this one and listen to me tell you what I need from you. But remember, as I say in the thing you'll hear, 30 to 60 seconds. If it's over 60 seconds, I delete it without listening. For now, let's begin the show with what is and forever will be topic of the show. Jordan,
yo,
the internet is aflame, of course. Crimson Desert review embargo lifted at 3 o'clock yesterday. Of course, you can go catch the Kind of Funny Gamescast about it, where myself, Paris, and Andy chop it up with some input from a sick blessing out of Oye Jr. Of course, today, 3 o'clock, we can start streaming it. We're doing a Gamescast Plays. Then we're starting a marathon stream with Andy, who will play for as long as you make him play for it. But of course, Crimson Desert has been hurtling towards this release date for a while. The game that does it all. The game people thought was too good to be true. And depending on who you talk to, maybe it is. The Metacritic, of course, a 78 right now. Friend of the show, Paul Tassi at Forbes, giving it a 9.5. Greg Miller, who you're listening to talk about it, in his 20 hours of playing it and not enjoying it, giving it a 5.5, calling it mediocre. There are any color of the rainbow reviews out there for you to go and be like, I agree with this, and I'm going to murder whoever wrote this or said that. However, it hasn't stopped the world from turning, even though, as VGC.News reports, Crimson Desert Studio Perlibus sees share price plummet by nearly 30% after the first reviews arrive. I think it's going to be okay. I appreciated Blessings talk today in a pizza bet on what the sales will be, but big man Jordan Midler. So just because you can't capture some little creature and make it do as you're bidding, you're not reviewing this? Nobody at VGC was on top of this one?
No, we weren't, and we only review good games. I think it's very funny that all of a sudden I'm seeing 7.8. That's a great score. What is anyone worrying about? If I give something less than a 6 out of 5, I'm told that I'm taking the food off the table of these developers. So
yeah, of course.
I think, look, I understand. when I was a fan and on the other side, I got very, very invested in games before they came out. And there is a personal attachment that you can make to something you've pre-ordered and spent a lot of money on.
You've been anticipated for 7 years.
Yes, exactly. But I think, as per usual, the reaction has been somewhat ridiculous. It's also weird to me because there were a lot of positive reviews. Like, if you wanted to find the review that matched your bias, you absolutely could. I think people get really hung up on when IGN, who haven't put out a final review, to be absolutely clear, they have a little kind of graphic saying if we had to score it now. And I think that's a separate problem. The kind of like Twitter imagification of all reviews are just, here's a number, and God love them because they always include VGC, and I appreciate that. I think those tweets that it's just like, here's all the review scores, very unhelpful for reviews in general.
Right.
But yeah, I think that the reaction is not surprising. We've been through this many, many times, but for some players, this is their first Cyberpunk reviews. This is their first big disappointment from a review period from a game. So God love them. Just I don't think it's ever that serious.
Of course not. And I think, that's always my favorite thing. I love a game that comes out and gets these scores. I think it's so fucking boring when a game comes out and everybody's like, 7.5, we're all right there. That's what it is. Congratulations. The fact that you can get a Crimson Desert right now and have people be like, I put 100 hours in and I hate my life, or I put 100 hours in and this is the best thing I've ever played. Like, that's art. That is fascinating. And that's where it comes back to, I think, I always talk about in these shows how lucky we all are to be living and playing games right now, because the reviewer on such a different level than I did in high school in the St. Francis Computer Lab, clicking on and be like, well, IGN gave it this, and not realizing there's going to be a difference between Mary Jane, and there's going to be a difference between Doug Perry, and there's going to be a difference between Craig Harris. Like, there's such a vibe here of you can come in and be like, oh, I know that I never agree with Greg on anything, so maybe I'd like it. Or being like, oh, I like a game that Paris usually likes, so this is a weird juxtaposition on where I'll be. But I think it really did kick the beehive into a conversation of, we were prepared. For the record, cards on the table is kind of funny did. The original headline we had for this one was, when we were reviewing it and we were all like, damn, I just don't want to play this game anymore. We had prepped the headline. Were we wrong about Crimson Desert? Totally prepared that it would be everybody else is saying a 9, and me, Paris, Bless are all like, no, I just don't want to play this game. So I thought the easy pivot here would be to talk about divisive reviews, the reviews that come out and there is a smattering of opinion on. Of course, Jordan, I've been doing this a long time. You were a little lad when you started listening to Greg Miller talk about video games or read Greg Miller. But now you've been doing it so long, I thought I could think of nobody better to come in and talk about the biggest video game review fights you've ever seen on the internet, because I think we've been a part of them. So Jordan, start off. Where do you want to go?
So when I first started, and you just mentioned it there, the genesis of the kind of internet culture of knowing who the reviewers are personally was finding like the IGN podcasts and stuff like that.
Sure.
Who was part of the IGN podcast? That absolute charlatan Chris Roper giving God Hand famously 3 out of 10. When I googled this, when I knew this was the topic, every single list included God Hand, and it had a Metacritic of around the kind of the 7s. I want to know from your perspective, what was that like then, and how does the reaction to Chris's review back then, when it was more of like an on-site comment style freak out rather than a social media freak out, how does that compare and contrast?
So I wasn't there when Roper gave God Hand on PlayStation 2 a 3 out of 10. If you're unfamiliar, God Hand, a Metacritic right now of 7. Roper gave it a 3 out of 10. One of his final verdict graph was, the bottom line is that God Hand quickly becomes a boring, annoying, and frustrating game. Why should you be forced to try and complete a level with no starting health when you have no hope of survival and will just need to reload a minute later? What's fun in fighting the same annoying demon creatures over and over again when the fight was old the second time you tried it? Why, oh why, did Clover Studio put so much money into such a risky joke, and why did no one see that the joke didn't have a real punchline at any point in development? Here's a better joke for free. What's green and has wheels? Grass. I lied about the wheels. And it's like, I think even there, you want to talk about like just Roper just punctuating his point and really going after it. Like, When did God Hand come out? Because IGN does the whole thing now where they do I go to the review to read it for you, and it's like, oh, well, guess what? It was updated in 2012. I'm like, that's not when it came out. God Hand's original release date here on PlayStation 2.
2006, was it?
2006, yeah. So it was like the release date, September 14th, 2006. So if your history books, remember, everybody, I started IGN in 2007. So I come in March 1st is my official day, but I came in February. And so legitimately, yeah, I want to say one of the first introductions of Roper to me was either, and I forget the timeline on this, it was, he's the guy, here's Chris Roper, he gave God Hand a 3 out of 10, or it was, here's Chris Roper, he closed Clover Studio. Because it was that level of it. And even if you Google right now, God Hand, then quotes Chris Roper, right? It's the review followed by a kind of funny subreddit. Don't forget that the Roper Report is named for the IGN guy that gave God Hand a 3 out of 10. Followed by a Game Facts post, God Hand, Chris Roper's blog rants, where they're just like, it was such a different time of working there. And I mean, like in 2006, let alone when I start in 2007, remember, IGN doesn't even have comments on articles. Like we would post an article, a review, or whatever, and then it was part of our job to go to the IGN boards and put it up there so people could come and rant and rave about that. And so it was a joke. It was something that was said, but it wasn't something that chase you on the daily, as I'm sure when we start getting into my skeletons in my review closet of, oh, well, Greg didn't like this, Greg didn't do that, Greg, like, I see that in the chat every day whenever I say anything. Whereas I think back then it was such a, okay, yeah, this is this is when, because when did Clover Studio closes. When Clover Studio died in 2006. No, March 2007. So yeah, it was. Was it Roper's fault or was it the game's fault? Who's to say? But yeah, I want to see. Yeah, Capcom shut down Clover Studio in late 2006 after a whole bunch of people left or whatever. So they're not even citing IGN there, which is nice. I'm looking back to see if they're the paragraph before. But it is that idea of these things legitimately chasing you. I'll toss mine out since we're here doing it, right? Lair. PlayStation 3 exclusive Lair by Factor 5, which of course I gave a 4.9, which really quickly people went with their rudimentary Photoshop and said Factor 4.9, renaming the studio after that. My closing on that one was, and by the way, the Lair Metacritic, 53, but we'll get to that in a second. You might think I'm being too hard on Lair, but if you do, you clearly haven't played this game. Although there are levels with wide open environments and spread out objectives, levels where wide open environments and spread out objectives trick you into thinking the 6-axis stuff isn't that bad. Whenever a handful of enemies are on screen, your flight space becomes limited and you need to be precise. The game falls apart. At one point, Lair looked like one of the most promising titles coming to the PlayStation 3, but the final version, even with its interesting story, occasionally impressive graphics, and amazing score, falls well short of anything you should be playing. The story I would always tell you, because if you're young, you don't remember me reviewing Lair, which again was a PlayStation 3 game dependent on 6-axis, and it was the one that is why they pushed this game of like, this is one of those, like, this is why 6-axis works. This is one of the this will be the PlayStation 3 exclusive you care about. And again, this is September 4th, 2007. So you're doing your math there. I've only worked at IGN 6 months, so it was very easy for everybody to be number one. This kid doesn't know what he's talking about. But more importantly, this was a different age. This was a different time when IGN would approach PlayStation and every other company under the sun, for the record, and be like, hey, can we get the exclusive review? Basically, can we get the Game Informer cover story? Hey, can we have the exclusive review? And so PlayStation gave us the Lair exclusive review, meaning that they had no idea what we thought of it, no idea what I was going to write, and I came out, I don't know, a day or 2 days before any other review, and I was like, it's dog shit. And it was a conversation with PlayStation after the fact, I remember. That wasn't, we're mad at you or anything like that, but hey, it was like, because it was like some junior PR person, it wasn't like the head of the company, being like, so if we ever give you exclusive again, can you only run it exclusively if you like it? We're not saying we're influencing the score, but like, yo, don't come out and be like, this game's garbage and then have everything go to hell. Because I did, and this is another great example. We're talking about Roper and what it was like. This was comments for sure on the boards, but there was no social media for it to chase me on. So maybe it would be a letter written to the Gamecube, but it was usually on some forum I would see people talking shit about me. And it was, I forget the name of the Dylan Eggbrecht, the dev I remember. And I remember someone at GDC that was a fan, was a dev, went to the booth. And they were showing it. He's like, oh, I remember this game. Greg Miller hates it. And the guy's face dropped. And he was like so fucking pissed off. And they eventually patched in normal controls, like trying to answer the thing. But it was a whole thing, Jordan.
I want to steal a story from Chris Scullion or Andy Robinson. When they used to work in the magazine days, all of the different platform magazines would be on the same floor of their offices. So when a game would come in, everyone would pile around and watch them play this game. And when the PlayStation magazine got Lair, they played it for 5 minutes. It stopped working, and then someone turned to the crowd and went, Lair! And then they just started using that for months, and that is all I think about. I think about your review, I think about Factor 4.9, and I think about Lair! That was such a... As someone that was in the trenches back then, it was difficult to be a PlayStation fanboy when even king of the PlayStation fanboys 2007 Greg Miller was killing everything we hoped and dreamed for. But I mean, your other, I wouldn't say most famous one.
Hold on, real quick. Let me give you a couple more Lair stories because I still got them.
Oh yeah,
I still got them.
This is the Lair hour. Throw out the rest of the.
Because I don't get to talk about Lair all that often or whatever, right? My favorite comment from a fan was in the review. I called out how unresponsive the 6-axis controls were to Fly the Dragon. And someone legitimately, with their full fucking chest, was, hey, it's a dragon. Of course it's not going to listen to you. Which, of course, would later on be a Last Guardian argument when people are annoyed by that. Hey, it's not meant to listen to you, you idiot, blah, blah, blah. And then the flip of it was PlayStation at the time went into such damage control about it that there was enough time that they went and must have been an all-nighter, put together this beautifully, insert book with color pages that they sent to all the reviewers and all the outlets of like, hey, here's how to play Lair, and here's all the lore about Lair, and yada, yada, yada. And it was thrown together so quickly that one of the bios, either for the town or the person or the dragon itself, was the lipsum. Like, they didn't even fill in the text. They just had to get it out the door so quickly. Sorry, you want to keep pivoting?
No, I was just gonna say, like, those kind of reactions, I get them occasionally now. Like when we were filling out this document, the one that I thought of, and it's another first-party PlayStation game. I don't know if that's connected. You can draw your own conclusions. Was for Gran Turismo 7, and when I gave Gran Turismo 7 3 out of 5 on the VGC scale, which is a good game. Unfortunately, that translates to a Metacritic 60, which is the lowest Gran Turismo 7 review by some distance.
Yeah.
So I spent a nice week being told by largely car perverts that I didn't know what I was talking about, and that I had no business reviewing a car game. And I was like, if you read the review, I pointed out that the car part of Gran Turismo 7 is exemplary. The terrible parts are when you are forced to sit in a cafe for half an hour to learn the history of the hot hatchback, and when the studio decides that what this car game needed more of was less driving and more historical epics about the steering wheel. So that was also when I was a bit younger and a bit bitier, so I was arguing with them on Twitter for a long time, and that's never the way to go. Nowadays, if I say something, I just ignore them. I'm not on Twitter anymore anyway, but if they ever come to Blue Sky, I just ignore them because it's very difficult to get the last word when you are reining yourself in, when I know that other person can say anything and absolutely end me, whereas I can't come back as hard as I want to come back because public profile company I'm representing and things like that. So I just let it slide on by. It was even when I worked for the BBC and they were posting their stuff on all of their public Facebook pages to like 50 million followers and stuff like that, it was so much worse. But I think because the BBC is like our public service broadcaster, the people commenting on those videos just thought, oh, he's a guy on the television, he doesn't worry about this, he doesn't see all of it. Meanwhile, like 22-year-old me is going through all of them and like reporting the comments that were horrible about me. I was like, man, really in my feelings back then. Now I just don't care. I'm just holding on to this Z-list micro fame until it all blows up.
I mean, that's the way to do it. You've heard the story a million times where I, woke up literally in the middle of writing a mean tweet about The Office, and I was like, wait, I'm acting like they wouldn't ever see this, but I see the tweets about me and they make me mad. Why would I? Like, I won't do that. I won't be a part of that. And it's the same thing of the argument, right? Where, you know, I saw things on this Kind of Funny subreddit today of like Andy trying to defend overall game critics to somebody who was being mean or whatever. And it's like, there's no way to win that argument. I used to do the exact same thing. It used to be, I remember, you know, long before he worked at IGN, Mitch Dyer was a freelancer in the video game world. And he wrote an article for some site that was like, the video game personalities you should be following on Twitter. And he put me in there and he's like, one of the reasons he put me in his write-up was if you tweet at Greg, he'll probably respond. Because it used to be like, it used to be fun to go in and talk to the people who want to talk. But then obviously as so many trolls flooded the platforms and social media in general, so many arguments are in bad faith. When you would go back on them, I would often get a lot of, hey man, I'm sorry, I'm just having a bad day. It isn't about you. Or the opposite of like, no, fuck you, triple down on it. And it's like, all right, so it's never get off your horse to wrestle a pig, because the only way they just want to get you muddy. They don't care. They're already muddy. They're not. It's like you're gonna pull them out of this and make them understand what's happening. And so nowadays I look at it where so many people come at me, maybe in a comment, maybe in a whatever, and want to fight something I said in the review. And I'm always very much like, I said my piece in the hour-long piece of content you can watch. Maybe you're misrepresenting it, maybe you're not. But this is also your forum to say that, but it also isn't owed a response because I said what I needed to say. And if I have more, then follow up on it somewhere else. But I got a life to go live.
I tend to agree. Like, you're in a weird position where you've had backlashes to extremely positive reviews as well, whereas I feel like I've yet to get one of those, because I feel like a massively positive review is kind of seen as quite boring these days, because a lot of reviews have kind of power crept up towards the higher end of the scale, which is like a different conversation and has kind of its own problems. But you put your Uncharted review in this doc, and I didn't even remember that was a controversy, because I just remember reading the review and thinking, thank God, it's brilliant. I'll just go and play it and listen to the podcast. I don't remember the backlash. If you could regale me with that.
Yeah. So me and Jordan put together a doc and started throwing things on here. I put Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception on here, which Metacritic of 92. I gave it a 10 out of 10 at IGN. And I want to say it's my only 10 out of 10 I gave at IGN. I should have done Peace Walker. I regret not doing Peace Walker, but I got in my head about it. My closing verdict on it was Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception. Or this is actually my opening. I changed it up this morning when I put it together. Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception is the reason I play video games. From the smile plastered on my face during the opening montage, to the disbelief that swept over me as Chapter 2 began, to the middle of the night text message I shot a friend about our relationship reveal, I couldn't stop loving this touching, beautiful, fun, and engaging game. From the moment the music swells on the title screen to the moment the credits rolled, Uncharted 3 is a masterpiece. Can I get the one? The problem with my Uncharted 3 review, and I'll tell you right now, I got no beef with Chris Roper about God Hand. I got beef with Chris Roper about Uncharted 2. All right? Chris Roper should have given Uncharted 2 a 10. Then there wouldn't be an argument. Because it wasn't so much, I think, that I loved Uncharted 3, Jordan. It was the fact that so many people loved Uncharted 2. And so it was this, by me giving it a 10, people were like, this is head and shoulders above Uncharted 2. Thank you, IGN. And then they got it and they were like, what the fuck are you smoking, IGN? This wasn't better. And I was like, I never said that. I reviewed Uncharted 1 because Roper was on paternity leave. Then he came back. He got to do Uncharted 2. Then I got Uncharted 3. What do you want me to do about that? I can't help you. And so for me, it's to your point, the opposite of, when you're negative on a review people want to love. I was positive on a game people wanted to be positive about, but this was, I think, and I'm probably in my own head about it. We all have our own fictions we write about ourselves, but I feel like this is, and I stand by the review, I love Uncharted 3. I feel like this is when I gave ammunition to all the people who say, oh, well, Greg's a Sony pony. You can't trust Greg Miller. He's on Beyond. He's at PSX. He's doing this. Da, da, da. And I also think so many people point to it as like, oh, well, Greg's easy on games. I think now is what it would be. But back in the day, he's easy on PlayStation first party. Oh, my God. Da, 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 da. And I think that was why it's there. Of like, when this is brought up, it's that I was wrong about Uncharted 3 because it wasn't a 10 because of the shipyard combat sequence, which, yes, it does not. I did not enjoy it at the time, but again, this is, I think, nowadays with all the podcasts and all the videos and all the things, and especially IGN when they do not only the video review, but then the review discussions that I love so much. Like, you're talking about Travis doing his review in progress right now on Crimson Desert. The fact that right at the top is him and Tom Marks talking about, hey, you've played this much, let's have a conversation. I love that stuff. But back in the day, 10 out of 10 at IGN meant perfect, which of course is complete bullshit. I think this is the same year then we go and give the Zelda game that used the waggle that everybody hated a 10 out of 10 too.
Skyward Sword.
Yeah, right. Like I think that's the same year. Maybe I'm wrong. No, maybe fuck. It doesn't matter. I'm my timeline.
2011 sounds right.
Does it? Okay, because I remember. Maybe I'm wrong, and it doesn't matter because I remember Cass Messina when he saw this was like maybe I should have given the last Zelda, but then it was Rich George who gave Time's a Flat Circle. But it was at the time that like this meant it was perfect, and clearly no video game's perfect. There's gonna be something for everybody, but this is one that it was always thrown in my face, always thrown in my face. Like don't listen to Greg, he liked Uncharted 3.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I think the audience, and I sort of subscribed to this when I was a bit newer in my career, when you really slam a big game. Like I remember giving one of the Far Cry games, it was either 2 or 3 stars. It was like the lowest review, and I fully stand behind it. But I absolutely detest the opinion that's like, okay, now this is the real review. This guy's not paid off. He's the one that's telling us the actual truth. He's shooting here. But then when I gave Starfield 5 stars, a game that I think is excellent. Are you into Starfield, Greg?
They sold me on it with these last updates. I might try it. I
mean, now that it's coming to PlayStation, you can finally play it.
Exactly, I know, right?
When that happened, and people were like, "Oh, you're such an Xbox fanboy. You're such a Microsoft fanboy," and it's like, mate, the Microsoft profile picture people DM'd me abuse for about a year after I said something totally innocuous on Twitter. So I've learned you can never win.
Yeah.
It helps to share these stories with my wonderful partner, who will just look at me with this look of like, why does any of this matter? And
you still have a job, and you still got paid, and you still enjoy doing your job, so why are we worried about this? Yeah, but I think it's
I'm talking to her about this while I'm saying, oh yeah, next week I'm like reviewing this or going this, and she's like, yeah, maybe lay off the Twitter heroin for a while.
But it's like, so you know how all this works, and I'm sure the audience knows too, but it's like, you know, there can be the 100 positive comments, but the one negative is the one that like, and you know what I mean? And like yesterday coming into Crimson Desert, like I want everyone to know how much, and this has nothing to do with the game, but how much I was putting on the armor for that review. Like I knew this is going to be bad. This is going to be this. It's that thing where it's like, I hated that. I am still so IGN coded. And not only IGN coded, I would say I am 2007. This is where I learned what I'm doing and how I'm doing it coded. So like to show up and do a review, even if it says so far, even if it's 20 plus hours of playing, I didn't roll credits. And I don't like that. I don't like that feeling. But like the night before when I was hemming and hawing about it with Jen, I was like, yeah, you know, I've done 20 hours, but I haven't rolled credits. And I'm like, but you know, I don't want to play it at home. I refuse to play it at home because I don't enjoy it. And of course, like as soon as this is done, I'm uninstalling it. And she was like, well, don't forget that says all you need to say. Like, and it's like that thing of like, you're right. Like we aren't trying to be the stalwart of video game reviews. We aren't trying to be like, we're here to present what we did, how we played it, why we played it, and how much we played it, and then give you an opinion, and then you go about your day. And so it's like, I got to remember that, but I still carry the IGN. You are IGN. You're representing this bigger than you of what it is. And so, yeah, it's like all of the reactions, positive and negative, were so expected. And even this morning, now the thing of the defenders of, listen, man, I put in hundreds of hours. I was at the review event and I saw press struggle with it. And they're just inventing scenario. And like people are trying to apply that to our review. I'm like, I didn't say anything about the combat. I thought I liked hitting a boss and be like, oh fuck, I can't fight you. I'll be back later. And maybe I never was because I don't enjoy the overall game, not that one part of it.
Yeah, I just like to say for the record that I am better at video games than 99.9% of the audience that complains about video game reviews. And that fractional percentage actually just Tamur Hussein. I completed every boss in Shadow of the Erdtree before they dumbed it down for you absolute freaks in the audience that couldn't play it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Before I have to go, I would just like to say that Kelly Plaguey's review of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire on IGN, the famous Too Much Water review. Yeah. First of all, she didn't put that in the review. Second of all, it is absolutely correct that there is too much water in that game. It's the most unfairly abused review in history. Those games are fine. They are probably an 8 out of 10, and she gave them a 7.8. It is fine. I don't think it's fair that too much water thing comes up all the time now. I don't think it's fair, frankly, that Pokemon social media posted the too much water thing, and I don't think it's fair that...
Do you not think we've gone through the looking glass on it? I think when it happened, I was so like, shut the fuck up, everybody. Like, you're boiling down a bullet point and making it, like, you understand what this means, even if you're not going to read the review. But nowadays, like, when it comes up, it's just part of meme culture, no?
Yes, on the condition that Kaylee's okay with it now, because I think it's not for us to be like, oh, it's just a laugh, when it was like such a detrimental thing for her. I don't know her personally, like, she's got a lot of friends in common of mine, so I just think it's we're never going to get the definitive, like, whether or not she's okay with it, because she probably never wants to speak about it again, and why possibly would she? But I don't like that when that comes up as like a kind of stick to beat reviews. And I think it's weird when any of that stuff comes from the company themselves. That just it left a strange taste in my mouth, much like Moo Moo Milk, which you get by milking Miltank in the Pokemon series.
Before you run, because you have a minute left, you put Driver 3 on here. I don't remember Driver 3.
This is one from my UK heads. So in the UK, there used to be a lot of unofficial magazines, and at the time, a lot of those magazines gave Driv 3R, you may know it as, like 60s and like terrible reviews. 2 magazines gave it a 9 out of 10. They had the game long before anyone else, and the response to that was the usual, like, who's paid off, who was getting paid here. Any comments about it on the Games Radar Plus, which is their full name, forums were deleted because they got a little bit libelous, and it was soon found out that some of the comments praising the review were traced back to Babel Media, a PR firm in the UK. Was that a coincidence? I don't think I can legally say. I would say there's a lot of good videos about Drivergate on YouTube. Go and check them out if you enjoy some early 2000s UK video game magazine drama. And let me tell you, Greg, if there's one thing I love, it's early 2000s UK video game magazine drama.
Jordan Middler, you're an absolute peach. I love you so much. Thank you for doing this on a short schedule today.
I love you too. I can't wait to be sitting in that office in August and jump through that wall like Chris Farley. So
don't do that. Please. Kevin won't like that. Please don't do that.
Please.
Jordan, you run off. I'll tell everybody else. Remember, of course, while you're watching this, we couldn't do cool stuff like this without your support. Pick up a Kinda Funny membership. Patreon.com/kindafunny. YouTube.com/kindafunnygames. Apple, Spotify. Get everything ad-free. Get your daily dose of me in a series we call Greg Way. Get good karma. But right now, you're not using your benefits, so here's a word from our sponsors. Come one, come all. Step into a world of wonder full of laughs and sweetness. Enjoy summer's brightest moments and experience a circus of flavor with the new cotton candy flavor, a 5-hour energy shot. Astound and amaze your taste buds with sweet, fruity clouds and a hint of vanilla. Plus B vitamins, nutrients, and caffeine. You'll be ready to see the sights and ride the rides. Try Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy today. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or amazon.com. This podcast is brought to you by Rula. I know I'm the strongest person you know, but even I, Greg Miller, struggle with mental health and know how important it is to talk to someone when you're going through it. That's where Rula comes in. Rula makes therapy simple, affordable, and fast. They work with most major insurance plans, and the average session copay is just $15. That's $15. That's basically the cost of lunch. But instead of a sandwich, you're investing in your own headspace. And with Rula, you're not just matched and left to figure it out. They check in and make sure you're actually making progress. Getting started couldn't be easier. You answer a few quick questions about what matters to you, and Rula connects you with in-network providers who actually fit your needs. You pick the time, and you could be talking to a therapist as soon as the next day. Thousands of folks have already used Rula to finally get the care they needed. Don't keep putting it off. Go to Rula.com/kindafunny and get started today. That's Rula, RULA.com/kindafunny. Take the first step, get connected, and take control of your mental health. This podcast is brought to you by Factor. Somewhere between the first warm weekend and realizing short season is getting close, eating well stops feeling optional. But Not if you're like me and have Factor delivered to your door. It's never optional. It's always happening. Get fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs. Ready in 2 minutes, no planning, no cooking. Factor makes a mashed potato that would make Andy Cortez blush because they only use quality, functional ingredients, including lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats. There's 100 rotating weekly meals to keep things fresh and delicious through every season, with options including high protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean diet, GLP-1 support, and ready-to-eat salads. I love Factor, and you will too. Head to factormeals.com/kindafunny50 off and use code kindafunny50 off to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. Finally, the Williamses have come back to San Francisco. And this time, they're going to make Nick and Andy answer for it. Join James and Elise Willems, Nick, Andy, Lucy James, Max Scoville, and more for a live trivia show March 21st, 8 p.m. at the Swedish American Hall in San Francisco. It's the only trivia show where being funny is just as important as being right. And we all know Nick is never right. So he's got to be funny. But too bad, he's also never funny. Head to kindafunny.com/answer for it for tickets and info. And we're back. And guess what, chat? It's just you and me. Plus Barrett. Barrett wants to talk a little bit about being on the other side of the IGN review for that there Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, because of course we have a super chat from Kuzpano who wrote in about this over on the Patreon quip I put up, patreon.com/kindafunny. If you're using the app, you can get my quips that are a better form of social media. Anon Pants put up Gotta Be IGN's Pokemon Water review. Barrett, you were there. Take away.
Quip and Equip. I actually don't know if I was there.
God damn it, you set me up wrong.
No, but I wanted to circle back to the idea of you talking about like us being on the other side of the too much water meme and, you know,
sure.
IGN and like Pokemon using it now and trying to like own it in a weird way. I personally think my perspective on it is that it's hard to be on the other side of that and try to own it, you know, with kind of in the similar vein of what Jordan was saying about like how Callie feels about that today.
Sure.
And speaking out with that, and then also like too much water kind of being used so much for so many years as this weird dog whistle of minimizing a lot of like critic voices in the industry, usually typically women as well. So that's the kind of like side that I just wanted to bring up of like it. I don't know if we can fully say that we're on the other side of that in owning it in that kind of way, but just wanted to bring in that perspective.
No, it's sure. I mean, you know, this is the thing about perspectives. We all got one. I think not having any, like for me, when too much water happened, I remember being that and like, okay, why are people flipping out and moving out of my life? And so when it pops up now, you talk about a dog whistle to call out critics, like, well, in the last 19 years of my life, if it's somebody throwing Lair at me or Uncharted at me or whatever, something else, like yesterday, remember, everybody don't listen to Greg. He didn't like Baldur's Gate 3. Like, I understand it's not the same, but for me it is the same, where every day someone tries to fucking check my opinion and tell me why I'm wrong. So for me to see the good guys in IGN or whatever use it, I'm always like, oh, or Pokemon Company, I'm like, oh, that's good for them, whatever. But of course you're right that I'm not Callie. I don't know how you feel about it, but I also wonder at what point the things break out and go further than that. Like even like, you know, one of the ones on here, of course, is Fran's 7.9 for Double Dash back on GameCube. Metacritic of an 87. Fran's finale here on the old review. I expected so much more than this ho-hum effort. I had hoped for deeper controls, more than one selectable costume, skins for carts, maybe GBA link-up support, more intriguing level designs, more characters, much more high-quality music. The list goes on. I mean, it's still an enjoyable game, but not on the level it could have been. So think about Double Dash before shelling out your much needed holiday cash. If you got a ton of friends that are into the title, you stand to enjoy the multiplayer, but even that may get old faster than you'd like. Double Dash is still a good one to add to the library of the GC and exclusives, but with battle not what it used to be, versus racing is probably where you'll spend most of your time. Obviously, totally a normal review. When I worked there, that was the first person I ever gave shit for, because on the outside, loving goddamn Double Dash so much in college, but being the exact audience Fran talked about in that review, where it was me and a bunch of my college friends shoved together, that was it. And I guess that's probably my take on it But my perspective on the too much water angle is that I saw 7.9 become an owned thing. I think they even sell the shirt, or used to sell the shirt that had the review score on it, like of owning people being haters and suckers like that. Because I was a hater and a sucker back then, and now I'm a hater cool kid, whatever that means. Like I said, over on patreon.com/kindafunny via Quip, the in-app Patreon social media that I use more for stuff like this and stuff like this. 415-343-5034. We have a bunch in here, and this is one again that I vaguely remember. I'll just read it, okay? Brent Bird leads with Alien Isolation for sure. Only review to ever put me off a game that years later I finally played and loved. I'm still pissed about that review. Zachary says, IGN's review of Alien Isolation. It's come up a few different times there. If you are young and maybe don't recall, Alien Isolation, of course, came out, and Ryan McCaffrey reviewed it for the one, the only IGN. Ryan McCaffrey, friend of the show, who I love dearly, and gave it a 5.9, calling it mediocre. Alien Isolation erases the memory of colonial marines, but it's still not the great Alien game we were hoping for. Of course, if you were to go to Metacritic right now, Alien Isolation has a 79 on it. And I remember this being a similar thing of this coming out. Yeah, Barnell says, dude, it was an ordeal. I remember when this popped and people flipped out about it, and it was maybe similar to what we're getting right now with Crimson Desert, not anything else, of just people being mad about it. But I remember starting Alien Isolation on my own and being like, oh no. And then let alone watching Nick's playthrough of it when he got to the guns. That was the thing. Alien Isolation, as someone who did not finish it, just too goddamn long. It should have been way shorter. It should have not had that you pick up a gun at the end of it. It should have just, like, I'm with McCaffrey from reading his review and then playing what I played of it, watching Nick when he streamed it recently. Like, I'm a ride or die Ryan McCaffrey guy, period, of course, but like I accept that we don't like the same kind of games. But this is one that I read enough, played enough, and watched enough to be like, yeah, no, this ain't for me.
And it's also weird too that like I remember that particular review being the focus when that was not one of the only scores that low from prominent sites. That was such a weird one. And yeah, I think a lot of people, you know, shout out to the vibes of Alien Isolation, shout out to the first half being really solid. And I think a lot of people forget that game just keeps going.
Keeps going. It don't stop there. Going. It keeps going. But again, this is what I'm talking about with Jordan and with you, audience, of like how lucky we are to be where we are. Where I'm like, oh, I know I usually line up with McCaffrey, so I'm able to read that and be like, it wouldn't work for me, but I understand why it would work for other people. I want to get some super chats in here. I want to keep going through the Patreon quips, of course. The Juan one says, this game, he's talking about Crimson Desert, feels like Black Myth and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 of this year, where the masses love and support the game so much you can't criticize it at all. Then he has crybabies. I will be interested to see. There was a great discussion between Roger and Bless on what this is, how much it's going to sell. I'm with Roger. I think it's going to sell incredibly well. My interest is, once it sells, what is the feedback of the audience? I am one of those people who's not conspiracy theorying at all, but how is it going to run on PlayStation 5's base, Pros, Xboxes, etc.? But then also, to the point of the show earlier, and even to the point of people talking about the people who want to be trying to dismiss all critics, which I know they're not. They're trying to dismiss the thing they've said, talking about difficulty or this or that. And I read it in yesterday's review. Somebody coming at Jason Schreier of like, I loved Elden Ring, so I'd love. And he's like, Schreier's like, this is one of my favorite. Elden Ring's one of my favorite games of all time, right? It's this idea that Black Myth Wukong, which is not a Greg game, but listening to Bless talk about it today. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which is not a Greg game, but watching stuff, playing it myself, Mike, like, I think those gameplay hooks are so much deeper than what I got out of Crimson Desert. Now, I say that again, 20 hours in, as you see people on Travis talking about 110 hours and also being where I am with the score. You see Paul Tassi being 120 hours or whatever he said, being a 9.5. It's going to vary, but I think both of those games have something special that Crimson Desert doesn't. Where even though I'm not a Black Myth Wukong person, and I'm not a Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 person, I turn those on and go, man, this ain't for me, but I can see why it's back to Baldur's Gate 3 for me, right? I don't like CRPGs. I see why someone would do this forever, and I wish I could be them. Where Crimson Desert I play and I'm like, this is my genre of game, and I would rather go play Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'd rather go off and do something there. I'd rather go play, as I started earlier this year, restarted The Witcher. I should go back to The Witcher. Like, I'll be interested to see. Of course, there's buyer remorse, and you've invested your money, and you want to be part of the conversation. And again, 50, 60, 70 hours into this game, when you are flying around a mech, maybe it's going to be a different experience. But for me, someone who walked off in all the different directions and was finding the enjoyment there, but not the desire to ever go back to it, it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Now, this is interesting, and I want to bring this one. This is a super chat that just happened. Another one I've seen people try to throw at game reviewers on Crimson Desert. Andrew says, you guys often lament long games. How much of that has to do with your pressure to always be reviewing the new games coming out? The average consumer doesn't buy every game or get them for free. Do we lament long games? If anything, I would say I lament not having the time for more long games. I would say that. I can't remember. Well, I guess I just did it for Alien Isolation. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater here. When I say Alien Isolation was just too damn long, I'm not saying I'm mad about the hours. I'm saying that I don't think the experience carried it that long. And I think that's the difference. When we're talking about critiquing something, we are talking about the pacing of it and how many hours you spent with it and if those hours were valuable, needed, etc. I look at The Witcher 3, a everlasting gobstopper of content, and go, damn, I wish I could. You see me, a Starfield sicko, admittedly talk on the show with Michael Hyam this week. Yeah, I'm not trying to brag. I'm 5 days and 20 hours into it or whatever. And everyone in the chat goes, rookie numbers. I'm 1,000, I'm 2,000. Like Liam Neely's 800 something. It's like, yeah, like I wish to a degree that I could do that. Like I obviously love my job. I'm very blessed to be able to play the latest, the greatest, the next thing. My inbox is overflowing with review codes. It's awesome and great. But there is that part of me that wishes like, damn, I wish I could just play Starfield and play every great creation quest that comes up. But I don't find myself lamenting long games. And again, maybe it's word choice that I'm getting hung up on. But I don't sit there and go, oh, this game's got to be fucking... even Crimson Desert. I wasn't like, oh, this game's got to be this long. I was like, this game's got to be this uninteresting to play. And again, that's me talking about it. You know what I mean? And back to it, I had seen people talk about like, oh, well, Crimson Desert. It was somebody, and I don't know this person. I feel like I'm coming at them, and I'm not. But I want to respond to their comments so much. One of the comments was, of course, this is what I expected from games journalists. They want to play the next thing and do the next thing because that's their job. They don't play it this way, the other way, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I get that to a degree, but I don't agree with it. Where again, a Paul Tassi's doing it. And like, how many games have you seen me review and do the review so far and go, this is so fucking good. I can't wait to go play more. We did it for Pocopia. I love this so much. I wish I had more time with it. I can't wait to do more with it. It's going to be the game I play forever. It's going to be my everlasting gobstopper. I don't think that works as the argument here, but it raises an interesting question that I look at, and I will be interested to hear Perlibis take after all this is done, after it all is out with the wash, right? Of, did they need to do reviews for this game? I argue they did not. I think that the trailers were so impressive. I think the demos in the last preview cycle they just did were so impressive, which, by the way, kind of funny, turned down because it was like, hey, do you want to come to LA and preview this game? I was like, when are we getting codes? Like the week after, and your save from this won't carry over. And I was like, well, no, then we'll hold off and do that. I think it would have been an interesting tactic to do the preview event. We're not giving out codes. We want everybody to experience it together and then have a gajillion live streams go up. And then, yeah, to a degree, if that's the honest thing we were worried about, I'm pointing at the comments like it was one of our people who pointed. If it was this thing that, well, games journalists just don't have time for it or this, that, the other, let everybody play alongside each other and discover that and do it. But I don't like that argument because I didn't play it that way, and that wasn't one of my hangups of it. I did wander the countryside. I liked smashing into that boss and getting my head kicked in and be like, all right, cool, let's go get some fucking cubes to level myself up. Barrett, you're up.
And yeah, just like something I kept seeing yesterday is like, oh, the longer people played it, the more they enjoyed it. So people who didn't put nearly as much time into it, like, don't see the full breadth of it, trying to like kind of build a similar narrative to Dragon's Dogma 2, I remember.
Sure.
You know, like the Dragon Dogma 2 gets like really crazy in the end game and all this stuff, and it all blows up. And it's like I would get building that narrative if I didn't also see split opinions between the similar hour counts as well. Like, you know, there are plenty of other people who put in just as much time as Paul Tassi who are also just like, yeah, it's kind of whatever. And so that was like another aspect that I thought was weird yesterday, of people trying to build up of like, oh, similar with the conversation of lamenting long games and all of this stuff. I just thought that was a kind of a weird spin people were trying to make yesterday.
We bring in ERG. Oh, Jesus Christ. Let me try that again. All right. I've been drinking a little bit of this coffee. Feeling pretty good. EJRPG5495 Super Chat and says, question. When you go to review a game, do you take what it has presented itself as in promotion into account? Like, if an RPG is actually just a hack and slash, or a shooter is actually a visual novel with just a shooting minigame? An interesting question that I don't think I have a great example of. I mean, that's not a good example. My takeaway from that would be Metal Gear Solid 2, of course, where they promoted that entire game, and I was fucking in college when this happened. I wasn't working in the industry. But hey, guess what? You're going to be Solid Snake. And then how quickly were we not Solid Snake? Promotional accounts, you take them into, you take it into effect in terms of like, oh, I think I know what this game is. But there's been plenty of games you jump into. I had no idea what this is, and I love that about it. Like, I can't think of the last time I was like, I'm going to jump. It's an open world RPG. I can't wait. And I started, and I'm like, oh my God, it's a shmup. Like, that's just, I don't think that happens. Barry,
the best example I can think of is more so story and theme presentation. I talked about Unbeatable last year and how I thought from trailers and promotion and all this stuff, the story was going to be one thing, and then it ended up being drastically different. That's the closest I can really think of an example of that, not so much like genre stuff like that.
I like this one from Shiv over on the only patreon.com/kindoffunny, where, by the way, quips are free. I should say that. Join patreon.com/kindoffunny for free. Follow our quips there. Get the weekly schedule delivered to you without Mike yakking in your face. Shiv says, the canyon of opinions that happened for Dragon Age Veilguard. For some reason, we're talking about Dragon's Dogma, and they just said Veilguard, and I bricked. Veilguard, with reviewers hailing it as the return of BioWare, and YouTubers and Twitter peeps lambasting the dialogue and calling it the worst game ever. Parentheses, this is Shiv. Enjoyed the hell out of it myself, but the dialogue is not up to the BioWare standard. That's a great example of divisive. Divisive. I saw people saying my pronunciation of divisive is divisive. A great example of divisive video game reviews. That was one here that me and Andy absolutely adored, right? And then, it went out into the streets and people beat it to death over and over again. And I thought, Andy comes back when we talk about this of his playthrough was great, but he's seen other playthroughs, other choices with different characters, different pronunciations, or different intonations. And he's like, oh, I can see why people hated this when I didn't have that experience. For me, what I always find interesting is so many people will come down and be like, hey, whatever. It's a good, maybe even great game, but it's not a Dragon Age game. And that's where I goes, see, I never played a Dragon Age game. I didn't like the other Dragon Age games and never got into them. So for me to get into this action RPG or whatever, very colorful, I love the style, I love the thing, I had no hangups on it. And I think, again, while in the olden days, that would have been such a detractor to me reviewing it at IGN, right? Well, Greg's never played a Dragon Age game, so don't have him do this. I think that's the power of where we're at now, where I can come into the review and say, I probably booted the other two. I watched my ex-girlfriend play them. I didn't love them. I didn't want to get into them. Here's me coming in as a new fan, a new person or whatever. That's a powerful review in a way that it wouldn't have been back in the day when it was like, no, we need a hardcore Dragon Age person doing this. But I like that. This is an interesting one that I haven't seen. Of course, we love Giant Bomb here. Credence writes in and says, Giant Bomb giving Metroid Prime 4 a 10 out of 10. Now any commentary on any game goes back to, quote, so it's not as good as Metroid Prime 4 then. I didn't realize they were living that life right now. And even if it's jovial, we fucking hate that. Back to like how y'all feel, like we're talking about Callie, we're talking about me, we're talking about whatever. Like that's the kind of shit where like, can you just listen to the fucking point I'm making? But Greg didn't like Baldur's Gate 3. It's not that I didn't like Baldur's Gate 3. I just don't like CRPG play. Drives me crazy. Drives everybody crazy. What else I got going on here? Fantasy Thinker Fans super chat and says, remember friends, a low or mid Metacritic doesn't mean a game is objectively bad or mid. Find reviewers with taste similar to yours and weigh those more heavily. Exactly. That's what it's all about, right? That's what we're talking about. Not to mention, go watch your favorite streamers, your favorite whatever, see what they're saying. Did they like it? Did they not like it? Why didn't they like it? What was the deal with that? What about this? That's the power of where we're at right now. And again, I love it and I like it a lot. And I think we have and I know this is saying something, a more literate audience. Not you guys, kind of funny, obviously. You guys are fucking awesome. But I mean, in general, video game press consuming, whatever. Barrett, read your tweet to me.
Enjoy art. Talk about what works for you and what doesn't with your friends. Take something away from it. Don't let numbers be a fixation and control how you consume art. And then my follow-up here, because this was kind of more of a thread about people being obsessed with like games getting in the aggregates like 70s and talking about divisiveness and all this stuff. I end it with, I know this will go in one ear and out the other for some, so let me put it into the terms of the American education system that has broken a lot of us. C's get degrees, baby. If C's are good enough to get degrees, they're good enough to check out and see if you get something from it.
Well said. This is a fun one from the Patreon one to close on. Jet says, Greg Miller's 2010 IGN review of Singstar Dance pissed me the hell off. The Singstar Dance IGN review. I remember reviewing all the Singstar. I gave it a 5.5 out of 10. I said now with 100, my subhead, now with 100% more flailing. Damn. By now, this is my lead. By now, the Singstar formula should be pretty standard for PlayStation gamers out there. You buy a Singstar disc along with some microphones, and then you get to belt out tunes karaoke style in your living room. You can try to fill in pitch and timing bars with your voice to earn points, but most of the time it's just about rocking the Casbah, Jesus Greg, and getting your friends to have some fun. Layered on top of it is a robust online suite that allows you to upload performances, rate other people's work, and join clubs. Aside from a minor update here and there, we get to what we're talking? Okay. However, Singstar Dance takes the PlayStation Move and tosses it into the mix. Now, the 30 songs on the disc also have dance routines to follow, along with and rack up points. As always, the singing's fun, but this edition of PlayStation Move is just a mess of flailing arms. Please click on that gameplay. Singstar Dance dancing duet gameplay. It's me in a Green Lantern, an Ion shirt, technically, with Jack DeVries. Me dragging Jack away from whatever Nintendo DS game they had him doing to come in here.
I'm sorry, is Jack DeVries like 13 years old while working at IGN?
Jack is a very young-looking person, and yes, back then was incredibly young. We keep it going while I read my verdict. If you're just... who's mad about this? Why were you love this? If... you're just buying this for the tracks, you're fine. I like the set list and the Singstar Online features are cool. Trouble is, the game isn't just tracks. Singstar Dance is a tacked-on PlayStation Move option that does nothing to further the fledgling control scheme. Sure, you'll have fun and laugh as your friends make fools of themselves, but that's just because they're waving their arms like crazy and acting foolish. It's not because the system works. Damn, Greg. And I loved Singstar, so you knew. I throw that one back in your face. I don't want that. I don't want that one, okay? That's not where I refuse to accept that. I'm looking at this. Anyone I want to call out here? No, we covered the most of them. Everybody, this has been another episode of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Thank you, of course, to VGC.News' Jordan Midler, the big man in video game journalism. Remember, of course, you have homework. Call 415-343-5034. I leave very specific instructions for what I need for tomorrow's Gamescast. Go be a part of it. Have a good time. Remember, our day of programming is far from done because we are all about live programming here on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames, and podcast services around the globe. Right now, you're going to get an in-review for Scream 7. I need to make sure I was on the right one. It's Joey, it's Nick, it's James, and Elise Willems. They are here to party with us. It's going to be great. Then, of course, we will be back on for a big day/night of streaming. Remember, we'll take a quick break, but at 3 o'clock, Blessing and I will turn on Crimson Desert, start a new game, do a Gamescast plays brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. And then when we wrap that up, Andy will start a marathon stream of Crimson Desert. So if you're like, will Andy like this game? Why not find out by funding him playing it for the next 130 hours? The longer you sub, the more you sub, the longer he goes. Anyways, I digress, everybody. This is another Gamescast in the bank. If you liked it, of course, pick up a Kind of Funny membership. Patreon.com/kindoffunny, youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, Apple, Spotify. You give us $10. We give you everything ad-free. That's more than 80 episodes a month. Of course, you also get a daily dose of me, Greg Miller, in a series we call Greg Way, and you get good karma for supporting 11-person, 11-year-old small business. However, this is the end of this show. So until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.